This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore.
Ever since Donald Trump came on the scene, there have been opponents of his, even within his own party, who called it as it is. You had your Lindsey Graham say that if we nominate him, he will kill us all. He'll be the death of the Republican Party and we'll deserve it. He'll destroy us, something like that. Marco Rubio went on and on and on about what a con artist he was, and that's who we're going to talk about today. But there's been others, people who have eventually bent the knee in worship to their dear leader, Donald Trump. People who have no loyalty or adherence to truth or the ideals that they claim to support. Democracy, for one. Yesterday, because Marco Rubio is on a very short list to be Donald Trump's pick as Vice President of the United States, and the whiff, the aroma, the allure of that possible power for Marco Rubio is beyond his control. He's unable to control the craving for it. And he was on this week with Jonathan Karl this weekend, and he was asked, he was asked about his prior comments. He was asked about the prior negative things he said about Donald Trump, the accurate things about Donald Trump being a con man. And watching him squirm and scramble and struggle to come up with some kind of an explanation for those comments is very funny, especially for a guy who's been in and around politics for decades now. He should be skilled at this. This shouldn't be a heavy lift for him to be able to navigate this question. And instead of handling it in a professional, or at the very least, a typical slimy politician way of not answering a question, he just caves under the pressure. And it's a wonderful thing to watch. Watch this.
Down memory lane while we're talking about this. This was you in 2016.
What we are dealing with here, my friends, is a con artist. He is a con artist. First of all, he runs on this idea that he is fighting for the little guy. But he has spent his entire career sticking it to the little guy. You all have friends that are thinking about voting for Donald Trump. Friends, do not let friends vote for con artists.
Friends do not let friends vote for con artists. You know I could have gone on. I could have played more.
Yeah, but so why didn't you play the clip of Kamala Harris basically insinuating that Joe Biden was a segregationist on the debate stage, and she's now his vice president?
We play that, but let me ask you.
Well, you didn't play it now.
That was then.
Yeah, that was then, but it was a campaign.
Okay, but let me ask you right now, where we are right now. Donald Trump is making the case, and he's going to do it before the Supreme Court, that the President of the United States should have absolute immunity, should effectively be above the law for virtually anything that a president does while in office. You don't agree with that, do you?
Well, I don't think that, well, on the case of immunity, there's two separate issues here. One is, can the president do anything? Can he go out and basically, kill one of the members of his staff overnight inside the White House? Obviously, that's an absurd outcome, and that's a common crime. But I do think there's a legitimate issue here that we need to talk about writ large, especially after what we've seen the last 3 years, is do we want to live in a country where basically the opponents of a president can extort them, can have leverage over them during their entire presidency and say, don't worry, once you're out of office, we're going to prosecute you. We're going to come after you. We're going to charge you for this crime.
Yeah,
but
he's saying absolute. He's saying absolute immunity.
We'll see. This goes before the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
There's going to be oral arguments.
We'll hear as a guy that's supposed to run for president.
He's not representing himself at the Supreme Court. Lawyers will make that argument. But we're living in a country now where basically, if you're president, now you have to think to yourself, I got to be careful what I do as president. Not even legal or illegal, even on policy, because if I upset the wrong people, as soon as I leave,
you should be careful not to break the laws.
Well, but you look at these prosecutions that are coming about. You've got this lady, clear partisan in New York, who's basically prosecuting the president over loans, something that's never been done to anybody before. The banks, who are supposedly the victims of what they claim, are all saying, we don't even rely on what the president's statements are. We do our own internal investigation to see if the properties are worth what they're worth.
Okay.
And you've got a judgment on them. That's just one example.
And what are the other examples? Marco Rubio, is it violating the Espionage Act, hoarding and absconding away from the White House as a private citizen, delicate, super sensitive military secrets, up to and including our nuclear capabilities and that of our allies? Is that the other case you're talking about? Is one of the other cases that you're talking about, Marco Rubio, the attempt to end democracy in America, to dispatch a violent, frothing at the mouth mob to stop the certification of the free, fair, settled American election on January 6, 2021? Is that the other case that you just didn't want to talk about there, Marco Rubio? You see, where was he wrong when they played the clip from 2016 where he talks about Donald Trump being a con artist who takes advantage of the little guy? The question that really needed to be bared down upon there from Jonathan Karl was that. When he says, well, that was just a campaign. So you're admitting that you're a liar. You lied about that. You lied about Donald Trump. He's not really a con artist, according to Marco Rubio. He doesn't really take advantage of the little guy. I was just being a liar. Is that acceptable? I guess it's just politics. You can say whatever you want and then later say, oh, that was just a campaign. What you're saying is you lied. Or you didn't lie. You told the truth and now you're lying. You see, we have many years, decade upon decade upon decade of witnessing Donald Trump's behavior, his actions, the ethos from which he lives his life. And we know who he is. We know the substance and character of Donald Trump. And we don't even need the decades and decades. What we need is just the last 8 years, just since 2016. That's all we need. The many statements of racism and xenophobia and violent rhetoric coming out of Donald Trump, both as a candidate for president of the United States, but also as president of the United States. We know when you called him a con artist, that his Trump University got shut down. He's not able to be involved in any charitable organization in the state of New York because of his rampant fraud and criminality. And now he's not able to do business in the state of New York. And he can't pay the fine, so they're going to take his properties to settle up the debt. And you, Marco, are eager, we'll just say that, eager to join the ticket and be the next Mike Pence to look adoringly at Donald Trump as he does the most horrendous things imaginable in the history of this country. To back him up and explain away what Donald Trump meant to say. You're joining the con artist ticket. We will see. Anyway, I'd love to know what you think about the lying Marco here. You know, all the monikers and the nicknames that are tossed around by Donald Trump. He never really nails it, or very rarely does he nail it. Lying Marco, it really should be used. But now that he's on Team Trump, it's up to us. We can leave a comment below. We can talk about it in the comments. What do you think? I'd love to know. You can also call, leave me a voicemail, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me as always, daily@dollemore.com. I would love to hear from you. If you appreciate what I do and you want to join the team, help fund this work, help produce these videos and this message, click the join button below for $2 a month. You can become a channel member on YouTube. You can go over to my Patreon page off of YouTube. That is patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. All the same rules apply. Rules, like it's you got to abide by the rules. Stupid choice of words. Follow me on social media. I'm at Dollemore everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Facebook, Blue Sky, at Dollemore. I'd love to see you there. And I will see you next time. Until then, be genuine and take care of one another.